Synthaholics.
Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today you have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and we have the return of David Duncan.
Woo, I'm back.
He's back and he's married, ladies. I'm sorry, that's it.
It's over.
And your dreams are dashed.
I'm so sorry.
You'll never make it into the podcast world now.
Well, that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
I'm taken.
No. He's taken. That's it. You're done. I'm sorry. You got to start your own podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, you were gone, and last week, me and Guy Davis, we talked Expanse, but we also got to talk about the new animated series Lower's Deck from the CBS, their new Star Trek.
I haven't gotten to hear that yet. What were your guys' takes on it first? I'm curious to what you guys kind of thought in summary.
So my feeling is twofold. One, I love Rick and Morty. So this seems like to be Rick and Morty light. So I don't mind that. The one thing that kind of aggravated me was like, wasn't this show supposed to be pitched to go on Nickelodeon?
No, there's a different show that's pitched to go on Nickelodeon that's actually aimed at kids. Supposedly this one isn't, but I couldn't tell the commercial.
Well, it can't be because it shows a man naked.
Yeah, but at the same time, it just seems like it just seems so juvenile. I'm just like, what's
so
going
maybe
on?
I had it wrong, but I really thought so. I thought that there was a show I thought this was going to go on to Nickelodeon. Then
No. Lower Decks was always CBS All Access. There's another animated show that they're working on in conjunction with Nickelodeon that's supposed to be aimed at kids.
My only point was that I was saying is like we have Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks, and they're all adult themed, in which I don't mind myself because I can enjoy it all I want. But if we want to encourage more young kids to watch, we can't have adult themes. Because think about it. You got started watching Star Trek with your family when you were younger.
Yes,
it has to be somewhat accessible. So that was one thing. The other thing is, I don't mind, the silly slapstick humor. It's supposed to be a little jokey. That doesn't bother me at all. Actually, I even like the design of the crew and everything. I think they look kind of cool. I'm kind of excited to see them. So, Guy was a little hesitant. He doesn't hate the animation, but he's kind of like worried about just potty humor.
Yeah, I'm not super sold on the animation. It works in Rick and Morty because it's Rick and Morty and it's not supposed to be. I don't know, but Star Trek, I feel like they've gone too much the opposite way because the original animated series was almost still for adults. Because it was very like the stories are the same; they're just shorter. Like it didn't seem kid centric at all, and this one almost seems too kid centric, sans the nudity. And I'm just kind of like, ugh, can we hit some middle ground? Or whereas Picard and Discovery have zero levity, this via the trailer almost looks like it's got way too much. And I'm like, middle ground. That's what's got me worried. They don't seem to know restraint. They go either way too serious or way too silly. And there's you can balance that, I think.
I don't know. Discovery had a lot of levity to it, especially with Tilly and, stuff with Stamets and stuff like that would get they had some funny parts to it. And
they did a little bit, but Tilly dropped off after the first couple episodes of Discovery Season 2. You barely saw her.
Right. No, I know. Tilly definitely just disappeared for a bit, but I don't have a problem with it. I kind of figured it was going to be jokey, so I don't, my thing is I keep saying this, and it seems like it's just like I'm shouting to a void. Is just that if we don't make Star Trek, I don't mind if we have a Game of Thrones Star Trek, but we also should have a family version of Star Trek that everyone can sit down and watch. If we don't have that, I'm sorry, I tweeted this, but we will be the last generation to watch Star Trek. This will be it, because I mean, there might be some younger folks that are kind of like getting into it, but they're not going to be downloading CBS All Access, and they aren't going to be watching this kind of stuff.
Well, I'm scared we're going to be the last generation anyway, because Alex Kurtzman can't make anything that stand the test of time.
Well, I guess my point is that, whether you, I mean, that's your take on Kurtzman's thing, but it's like, if you're not making it accessible to people, I don't think we're going to get a lot of. I think we'll be the last people to enjoy Star Trek. Period. I think Star Trek will go away in another 15, 20 years. Like, this will be it.
I mean, you very well may be right, but it may happen even quicker than that.
I don't mean these shows will go on for 15, 20 years. I mean, like, that people just like, we're going to get old, and it'll be like reruns of Bonanza. You'll be like, old Grandpa Duncan is watching that Star Trek again. He's so silly with that old show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. Like, it's going to be gone forever, and it'll be irrelevant to any of the new people growing up. I'm with you. I think that's a very real possibility with the direction Star Trek's been heading lately.
Yeah, I don't mind that there is an adult version of all this. What I do mind is that there isn't, there's no access. I mean, like, I can't have my kids. I did have my kids watch some of Discovery. I think it was season 2 before it got really weird. I think it was when they went to the Telosian planet and stuff like that. They watched a few of those episodes, and there wasn't anything really bad in all that. But I have to pre-watch the shows with them before them. I can't just have them watch it, because there could be just F-bombs being dropped and like severe violence, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, but the thing is, like, Star Trek, I mean, even though it's edged a little bit toward Game of Thrones, it hasn't gone hardcore toward it. It's right. Like, it's super, every episode is like hit and miss. Like, some episodes are like G-rated all the way through, and some episodes are like totally rated R. I'm like I said earlier, like, balance. Like, why isn't there like a balance? Like, you either got to like go all the way through the series and keep it consistent, or not. You know what I mean? Like, it's so wishy-washy. On the content of each episode. It's kind of strange. So, I don't know. I just wish there'd be some kind of consistency throughout, consistent theme and tone. Especially the first couple episodes, because the first couple episodes were like almost like TOS again. Like, they were just kind of random, and they only had the very loose connections, and then they started getting more and more serialized as the season went on for season 2.
Yeah. But obviously we're still going to get Section 31. And we got the Pike Enterprise, Strange New Worlds. So, looks like there's a lot of things greenlit for Star Trek.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out. I mean, Section 31 and Strange New Worlds, as far as we know, they're just kind of like announced. There's been I haven't seen any news or traction on them since they're being announced. And Section 31's been announced basically since season 1 of Discovery.
Right.
So
no
traction on that. So I'm scared Strange New Worlds might also see the same thing. Years and years of no traction.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. But I feel actually I'm excited about Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. Everything else I'm kind of like, eh. Like Section 31 I've never was interested in. I mean, I'll watch it just because it's Star Trek, but I'm fundamentally against Section 31, so.
Well, only reason I'm kind of for it is because I hope they like clear the mud that they made of Section 31 in season 2 of Discovery, because it just made no sense.
Right.
I really hope they like give that some clear boundaries and some clear understanding of like why it was the way it was in season 2, because it was a secret organization that everyone freaking knew about. The Klingons knew about it. I'm like, why does everyone know about this?
Yeah. Well, that's obviously because nobody paid any attention to Star Trek before. Um, well, cool. We'll see what happens. So you are hesitant. I'm somewhat excited, even though I'm a little disappointed that kids can't watch it. So, so,
Yeah.
guy's a little hesitant too. He doesn't. It's not the animation part he's hesitant. He's more about the potty humor. He's not crazy about that, but he's willing to wait it out and see what happens.
Mhm.
So.
Well, hopefully it'll be good. I'm worried, but I'll definitely be watching it. We'll be talking about that when that airs, but next month.
Yeah, very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon. But before we go to Expanse, we've got another email.
Yes, Brad has emailed us back. Synthaholics. I wanted to say thank you for following up on my emails. I know you guys don't mean to insult or demean anyone, even Alex Kurtzman.
Well, Dave might.
I might mean to. I'm not a fan of Alex Kurtzman. He's not doing good things, but I mean, like, I don't wish any ill will toward the man. I just wish he would either step aside or actually be good at being creative. The reality is, most people don't. It's really all the way we interpret what occurs around us. It's easy to feel alone and unappreciated. Absolutely. I mean, I think Aaron and I know that feeling very well.
Often.
Sometimes. So yes, Brad continues saying, "I know your show is great, and anyone on your show is a good person and a decent person. I don't think you would have anyone on that was using the show for the sole purpose of agitation. While we may not agree on everything as science fiction fans, so we are willing to listen and respect the opinions of everyone. We're living in a very interesting time. Society is changing rapidly, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. Discussions are taking place that have needed to be made since the dawn of humanity. More than ever, we do all we can to support the mission of progress, peace, and understanding. The message of infinite diversity and infinite combination is more important now than ever. Keep up the good work. Very respectfully, Brad."
Yes, infinite combinations, infinite diversity.
Yes, it's a very good thing to have, and I think we should embrace that more. I really wish like Star Trek was like old Star Trek was required watching for world leaders and stuff like that. Not sure if the new Star Trek would be very helpful because it's all very much based on the world we're living in now, which is what we're trying to avoid with the Star Trek. And we want Star Trek. We want the optimistic future of Star Trek. We don't want the dystopia that we're living in now.
We don't want the bell riots.
No, not that again. No.
I mean, it's, obviously everyone's got different takes, and everyone has a different filter on what's going on. So some people see a very different thing that anybody else sees. But like Brad said, the idea is that we have to have like an open communication and respectful communication between each other. That's the other thing that drives me nuts is, especially social media. I'm pretty much getting done, especially with Facebook, is that that you say something and then people just insult you. They're not even talking about an idea. They're not willing to engage the idea. They're just insulting the person. And it's like, that's not an argument. That's just, you're insulting somebody. It's like, it tells me that a lot of people don't actually have clear thoughts in their head about an issue that you're talking about. So that's
or they'll attack you. You'll post something that's an article. They'll attack you based on what the title of the article is, and then they didn't even read it. And it's obvious because they read it. They wouldn't have probably said what they said.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing is also, I kind of feel like social media, we're just not, the human race isn't really ready for social media for a lot of reasons. I don't think we've matured enough. It's nice that we can kind of all hear what everyone's thinking because, I mean, not nice, but it's like good that we're actually hearing it because we can realize everyone's pretty much, there's a big swath of people who are just not courteous or kind to other people, which is stunning. So, yeah,
I mean, that's just it's just obvious by how things are going today. I mean, just we talked about with the Bell Riots episode and with
on the Fire of the Star.
Beyond the Farthest Star, we just have just a general lack of respect and everything, and even down to freaking mask wearing. People like
Oh, the
some
masking is
some
so
people
ridiculous.
refuse to wear them, and I'm just like, come on, just like
I know,
just
they've
just be kind and
they've
courteous.
they've yeah, it's literally a courtesy. Yes, you might not have it, and maybe the other person doesn't have it, but wearing it protects everybody and protects the person that you're talking with or engaging with and their loved ones around them. So that's talking about, people who might have lung issues, older people, people who are diabetic, all sorts of things that can affect all those people that are higher risk factor. And if you give them something because they go out grocery shopping or they have to go get their car fixed or something like that, those are things that you need. I mean, we still have to function in the society. Wearing a mask isn't a political thing. It's protecting your loved ones.
Yeah, and it's just America. We just seem to have this like, oh, my personal freedoms are being infringed upon. Da 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 da. Like we don't we're more afraid about that than being kind and courteous to people. And from what I understand, I've heard stories that in some Asian cultures that if they get a common cold, they will put on a mask when they go out just to be considerate to others. And I'm just like, that's like all the time they do this. I mean, I'm not sure like every single person, but I mean,
Sure.
it's a culture that generally, has respect built into it. And, I just think that we should embrace that as a people. I mean, I think Star Trek kind of teaches us that.
Yeah, Star Trek definitely does that, teach that. Yeah.
So I wish more people would watch Star Trek and being respectful of others is huge.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes you go into a culture, Picard goes down to a planet where mask is what you wear.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you just have to just take up the culture there for the time being. It's not a big deal. So, yeah, I don't know. I wish you the best, Brad. No matter what you chose to do with in your future, and I hope you stay safe, and I hope in a year or so, things are better for everybody.
Absolutely, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad, for the email. It's really always great hearing from you.
Absolutely. Dave, we are back at The Expanse, Season 2, Episode 5. We are at home.
So with home, the quick synopsis from the wiki is Eros is speeding on a collision course toward Earth. Miller and the crew decide that Miller will bring the bomb to the heart of Eros to destroy it and escape back to the Rocinante. On Earth, the United Nations decides to fire its planetary defense nuclear missiles at incoming Eros, but the asteroids evades them by going stealth, ceasing to reflect radar. The Rocinante crew must use their proximity to the asteroid to provide a lock-on for Fred Johnson, who will guide the missiles to Eros. Eros reacts to this by accelerating faster to maintain visual contact. Rocinante accelerates to the limits of human endurance and finally gives up the chase. Miller, who has the bomb at the heart of Eros, discovers a transformed Julie Mao. Meow! And while the protomolecule has infected her on Eros, she has in some way infected it back and can influence Eros's trajectory. With the combination of the world and affection, and after removing his protective spacesuit, Miller convinces her to redirect Eros away from Earth and toward Venus, where it crashes at a planetary scale event.
Mm-hmm. This is an action-packed episode and kind of ties things up. It's kind of odd that we're like episode 5 into the season, and this is where the story arc kind of like wraps. It doesn't wrap up, but it kind of gets where it's.
This is the end of the first book.
Gotcha.
So it is the wrap up of the first book, and it makes sense because it's just a kind of everything. I mean, it sort of resolves all the stuff that was happening in the first season, and you got to give sci-fi credit because they let them continue on the first book into the second season, and if they would have rushed this and tried to fit it all in the first 10 episodes, I think it would have been a huge disaster because it took 15 episodes to cover the first book, and they did it really well. And we discovered from our YouTube commenter, Christian, she was written in for the first season because they really wanted to lock down the actress.
Nice.
To play her, so they expanded her role, which probably helped, make season one a little bit longer than it originally would have been. But it was good to have Christian and Aaron Wright and all the other stuff happening on Earth, because it just helps the viewer kind of understand what's going on, seeing like the Earth position, and it because the book basically just bounces back between Miller and Holden. Right. So you're only getting like the character viewpoint. You're not getting like the bigger world viewpoint in the book. So I think just as a casual viewer, it definitely helps.
Yeah, I love it that you have that Earth view too. What's going on the political side? A great episode, because we get Miller trouging through Eros with the nuclear missile with the
my pet
trigger.
Nuke.
Yeah, dragging that through. So that was pretty fun to watch, and him, try to get through everything and like put on carts and drag it up, ladders. So
feels so bad for the guy, man. That's so rough.
Yeah,
dragging that thing around with you everywhere you got to go.
And a couple times he almost doesn't hit the switch again, because he's like trying to, he fumbles it,
Yeah.
So, so yeah. Also, the nukes being shot off from Earth as planetary defense, and Holden and crew trying to paint the target and trying to keep up with it. That's pretty exciting, and they're trying to keep speed. But then, because Julie Mao is thinking for some reason that she's back on her old racing ship, the Razorback, she's kind of influencing the protomolecule to go faster. Like she's like racing.
We got to go home.
Yeah. So then she's heading to Earth, obviously. So interesting. Very interesting, and it's really exciting to watch too, as they make those decisions step by step, and until obviously Miller's like, I think I can take care of this from within, when he reaches Juliet, and she's still in the Blue Falcon motel, but it's been completely changed.
Yeah, it's like it's she's in a cockpit type scenario, like where she's like laid back, and we'll actually see the Razorback later. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like the inside of the Razorback, but I mean, like it's very spacey, because I mean, in the Rocinante even the ship's like seats roll back so that they got the more comfortable position for the high G maneuvers.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's very interesting, and she's all just like all stuck to it, and she's like, "What's going on? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Why am I naked?
What's all this blue stuff?" And Miller
does a sexy striptease for her. He's a man of many talents.
Miller takes off his helmet and obviously gets himself completely exposed to the protomolecule and actually kisses Julie. How'd you think about that scene? I mean, it felt weird to me, but also touching in a sort of way.
Yeah, it was really, really strange, because everyone who knew Julie told Miller that she would hate him, just knowing who he was and whatnot. And he basically tells her that, hey, I was a cop. I was trying to find you.
Yeah.
Right. And she doesn't, initially resent him. She's just mostly really confused about her state. It was kind of an awkward scene, because she's just wearing probably like just a thin piece of latex.
Right.
For that scene. Oh, and then all the other prosthetics, but mostly just like a thin sheet of latex that'll like reflect.
It's probably just like a bodysuit of some sort.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So it was just. It's got to be really awkward for the actress, because she was like looked like she was locked into that chair or whatever. Pretty good, but she didn't look like she could move very much. So I'm sure she had a very uncomfortable time, and she did some great acting, and that really, I'm sure it had to be super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah, it was awkward, but it was definitely touching and sweet, and Miller got to kiss the girl, and he's just basically been fantasizing about her like for forever, ever since he got to the job, and fell in love with her, even though he didn't know anything about her. And I'm sure he had it rattling in the back of his mind that in the previous episodes he told his water boy friend that you got to get laid.
Yeah. Right.
He's like, can I get laid before we hit Venus? Slow the ship down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that happened, but it was interesting. To me, I was because we were talking last week with Guy that I felt that he's more in love with the idea of Julie Mao. Miller didn't obviously have a romantic relationship because he never met her. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows things about her, but he doesn't know her personality. Has never interacted with her, so he doesn't know much about her. So
Well, no, he's definitely in love with the idea of her, but I mean, like, because she like was a rich girl, flew away, joined the OPA, like just he kind of like, yeah, he definitely loves the idea of her and loves how she did things, and it just finding her became an obsession, and that obsession kind of turned into like a weird lust slash love or something like that. It's
mhm.
interesting way to do the character because I mean, like you see the crooked detective, trope a lot, and it was interesting how he kind of like I don't know. I feel like he kind of broke that mold a little bit by
Yeah, for
becoming
sure.
kind of becoming an everyman and like not being the crooked cop
Right.
anymore and just trying to like find his place and kind of move on and follow his heart, I guess, which is a little bit different. So
What about the idea that Earth launches its missiles and they can't? Obviously, Eros disappears off their radar because somehow the protomolecule can like change the laws of physics, which is never really explained. How it even moves the Eros, but that that Fred Johnson basically says, "Give me control of the nukes, and I will send all this information to Rosinante, and we'll paint the target." And that Earth trusts them for that point.
well, it's like get destroyed now or get destroyed later. I mean, it was the right move to make, but unfortunately, it didn't end up panning out because they had the inside player, which no one knew if that was going to work at all. So it was
Right.
definitely like the right decision, I thought, and it was interesting, especially since there's so much tension between the belt, Mars, and Earth,
Hmm.
and like who would get the missiles if they were ever to be collected. So,
Right. Right. Which
uh,
we find out next episode what happens
yes,
with that.
yes, we do.
But
What about you?
but
What do you
that
think?
I thought it was. I felt it was a little unrealistic, just judging by the tensions. But sometimes when you are at that like 11th hour, those decisions. I think we brought it up more than once, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. That these leaders are often like willing to go out on a limb to trust other people, even when all these prejudices have been put in place.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see what you mean, but at the same time, it's like, well, we're gonna get destroyed now if we don't. So I mean, like, I don't know, might as well postpone the inevitable.
or try to,
Yeah, or try to. That was like the idea.
right?
And Christian always is like, always like, yeah, we can just detonate them if you know,
Yeah, or
if
they have the codes to kind of just stop them too, and so they won't even detonate at all. Um,
yeah. So I mean, they had like plenty of backup for so or so they thought to keep things safe, even if they were even if they missed the target.
right, and then obviously, real quick, Christian's kind of has a quick discussion with her husband, who's on the moon at the moment, and just kind of it was sweet because here's two people that are trying to like basically skyping together, and there's even a delay in their talking, and they're trying to talk over each other, and then they just kind of saying that they love each other. I thought that was a sweet moment that we got between the two characters,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
absolutely.
obviously then the final real part is where they crash into Venus. The arrow smashes into Venus,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's pretty amazing that because Julie didn't even know she could change the course of the ship because Miller's like, you need to take control, and she goes, I don't think I can control it. So
Well, I thought that was interesting. Just that she could infect it, which I thought that was probably the most out there thing. I mean, I'm interested to see how that plays in the book. I'm a long ways away still.
Well,
Um,
yeah, there's like the protomolecule and Julie kind of fused together as one, so it took on some of Julie's characteristics too. I
yeah.
mean, obviously that she's controlling Eros, thinking it's the Razorback at some moment because she's disorientated and kind of in a dreamlike state.
Mhm.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean they fuse, but it's also, I mean, it's strange, and the Promel can do whatever it wants because it's this new thing, and they killed the scientist who was trying to understand it, and I think we're going to keep seeing things escalate with the proto molecule throughout the series. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, even though it may seem like it's not soon. And I think things are going to come in like these different waves of bad going forward, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I haven't read books. I'm still in the first one. I've seen all the episodes, but just kind of projecting out, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how it grows and expands.
nice. Should we go on to the next episode? The paradigm shift.
Yes, paradigm shift. Flashback show a Martian colonist, Solomon Epstein.
No relationship to any other Epsteins you might know.
No, not at all. He did not hang himself, right? So he's envisioning a future where Mars is freed from Earth's control by using his fusion drive. In the present, Christian demands Aaron Wright's bring Meow out of hiding. Meow. By threatening Meow's family and business empire. On Tycho, Fred Johnson's idea of using the 30 missing nukes as a bargaining chip against Earth and Mars angers Holden. The Rocinante crew commiserates over Miller's death and agree to launch the protomolecule sample into the sun. Naomi fakes the launch. The other believe there's no sample left. On Ganymede, Bobby Draper and her Marines are sent to patrol the agricultural farms, and they see UN Marines running toward them, firing. Their comms are jammed. The UNN and the MCRN fleets are in orbit, and they think the jamming is part of an attack by the others. Full-scale battle breaks out in orbit and destroys several of the giant orbital mirrors. The crashing wreckage devastates the colony. The Cicero comes under fire, and Sutton is killed. After the battle, an injured Bobby awakens the fighter team massacred and an inhuman figure standing over her.
Yeah, it's creepy stuff. And there's another episode, a lot happens too. I mean, it starts off a little slow because obviously we're just kind of like recovering from Eros crashing into Venus. But yeah, that scene in the, like, I don't know if it's the exact beginning, but it's pretty close to the beginning where Christian talks to Airite saying, you better get Jules Pierre Mao in here. And if he's not, we're going to freeze their accounts. We're going to throw them in jail. We're going to just basically destroy the family. We will literally, and she is ruthless.
She's vicious.
I was like, holy shit.
I mean, like, the dad, but she's like off to the family too. I'm just like, Christian, is that a little harsh or something?
Yeah, but she's like, I want to get this under control. I want this information. She doesn't even know about the protomolecules. She just knows that something infected Aerostation, and obviously, carries over with these stealth ships. And she doesn't have all the answers, but she knows that Jules Mao does know something about it. So
she wants to paint her pretty outfits with blood.
Blood, I will bathe in your blood, Mao.
The blood of my meow enemies.
Meow. And as you brought out too, what's his name? Fred Johnson takes 30 the missing nukes. They Holden and Naomi figure this out when they're tracking things, and I think Alex too, that 30 nukes went missing, and later on they find that Fred Johnson's the one that yoinked them.
Yoink! With a giant space net.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do, and so Fred Johnson's like saying, well, when Holden kind of figures this out, or he gets wind of it, he's pretty pissed off at Johnson, and Johnson's like, it can be used as a deterrent. Maybe they won't mess with the Belters as much now that we know we have nukes. So,
yeah, just Holden has no faith in Fred Johnson, and thinks Fred Johnson could turn evil at any moment, and basically that's basically where I'm at too. Fred Johnson hasn't done anything outright evil.
Mhm.
I mean, in current time, I mean, yeah, he slaughtered the whole station, but he was also under orders. But he hasn't done anything outright evil in the series, like as things are happening in present time in the series. But I just, I think he could go either way. I honestly do.
Guy told me in Caliban's War, I think that's what he told me, that we get more information on Fred Johnson. So I'm not there yet, so I don't know. So that's what he told me. So I'll have to wait till I get there.
Well, Caliban's War is the second book, so we're starting the second book right now.
So we're gonna get maybe some more information on him.
I mean, kind of. But like I said, I've seen all the episodes, and I still think Fred Johnson could go either way.
Yeah, yeah. Fred Johnson definitely. I mean, he you know, spaced the one guy from that was kind of challenging him.
Yeah, like Belter factions start becoming a bigger thing.
What are they called? A dark sky, black sky?
I think it's Dark Sky. There's several, but like you'll start like it becomes a bigger thing in season 4.
Okay.
I think they start really getting into the factions, and man, that water boy, whenever the Rocinante lands back.
Oh, Diego.
Diego, man, I fucking hate that kid. I hate him so much.
You're done with him, huh?
Oh, I'm done with him. Oh, he's standing in front of that painting of Miller,
and he's like acting like lying. He's like Jesus. Yeah.
Lying and talking about how Miller was like, he's ruining Miller's name for his own like glory or whatever. And I hate that kid. I hate him so much now.
And then also with Christian, she has contact with this doctor. We meet him in the very beginning, but he's a doctor that he's kind of thinks although he doesn't call it a protomolecule, he believes that there's some kind of alien life that took place that took over on Eros, and that's what's on Venus, and he wants to go. He wants to go down there.
He wants to be Christian's inside man because he knows the military aren't gonna be clear with her, because the military is more on Aaron Wright's side and the president's side, and he believes that Christian won't get the true news. He's like, let me go, and I'll give you all the inside goodies.
Yeah. So he wants to do that, and so we'll get more with him soon. And then the very end here with Ganymede, where we have Bobby Draper and her Marines patrolling, and then just a huge shitstorm that happens, and obviously her commanding officer Sutton gets killed in the attack, and we get that really odd alien at the very end.
Yeah, just staring into her visor. What'd you think about that?
Creeped out.
Man, it's just like, first we just have this, like, in season 1 we just have this like proto-molecule, and now we've got a weaponized proto-molecule.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so it's like it's building each season. I think it's going to build.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Bobby, oh man, I like her. She's good, and the thing is, like, I thought she was gonna like end up killing her commanding officer, because we've seen her pop up through the first couple episodes of the season, and she just seems like a rabble rouser. She's gonna she's gonna start the war because she's gonna do something stupid. She's gonna get him killed, or she's gonna do something to kill him, or her commanding officer, because the first episode she's like, I don't use sex as weapon, I use weapons as weapons. So I was like, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
She gonna kill her commanding officer, but no, she has nothing to do with his death.
No, it's just some random bullet or piece of shrapnel went flying through his chest,
flying through the ship and flying through his chest. Man, poor guy. I was sad that he went, because he seemed like a good officer.
Yeah, he did. He had his head screwed on right. And then how about Naomi totally like lying to Holden and like saying that she shot that missile with the protomolecule sample into the sun, and she just faked all the trajectory information.
Well, yeah, but early in the episode she's with Drummer, and she's like, Belter's got to stick together.
Right, but I mean that's one thing, but then she's like, come on, like keeping the missile is one thing maybe, but then she's also just like, the protomolecule, we just saw what happened with that. I mean,
Well, I mean, Naomi obviously wants the belt to have all the power. I mean, like she's. I mean, that's she was born and raised. I mean, she's in love with Holden, who's from Earth, and you've got the pilot, Alex from Mars. So it's a really interesting combination of people we got.
yeah, they're all
on the show.
put together.
They're all from different factions, all having to work with each other. So it's a really interesting dynamic. But yeah, Naomi's kind of caused herself some trouble here with this lie.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's a pretty big one. I mean, it's one thing with the missiles because Holden already knew about it, but they all agreed to shoot to fire those protomolecule samples into the sun that they hid before, and then she just kind of just lets it sit there. So,
Well, I remember back on our third or fourth episode, we talked about the Expanse. Whenever Naomi was like, "We can't go see Fred Johnson," and I was like, "Remember, this is going to come back and bite us," because her not sending that missile. She's basically giving it to Fred Johnson.
oh yeah, sooner or later someone's going to get a hold of it and find it.
And so like that's like it's that Naomi does that full 180 where she's like, fuck Fred Johnson. Now she's like, yeah, we'll just basically give it to him.
Yeah,
Belter's gonna stick together now. It's like, uh-oh.
and then Fred Johnson at some point has a conversation alone with James Holden, saying, you got to pick a side. And James is like, why should there be anything? Why should there be Earth or Mars or the Belters? And Fred's like, it's a nice dream. I'd love to see that happen, but I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. And
yeah, Holden's still the idealist.
Yep.
Which I mean, it's the way we should be. Like he's like the Federationist and the
Expanse. Yeah, he's
like,
a Federation before the Federation.
Yeah, he wants everyone to work together and really, I mean, I think that's what we want too in our real world.
Absolutely.
Honestly, we just need to work together and stop being assholes to each other. It would be so much better. And Star Trek teaches us that. And Holden's got that Star Trek belief in his blood. He wants to work together and be one human race. And I think that's a good thing to strive for.
But some people get so lost in their world and they see only things pragmatically, like, that's nice that Holden wants that, but it's like, how are you going to do that without, people getting hurt or suffering because, we give too much concessions to Earth or Mars or whatever. And, and it goes back and forth. So obviously the problem is a lot of times with all these things is greed. Greed takes a lot of things out of people's pockets and off their dinner plates,
Oh, sure.
And so that's what we see with the Belters, and even with Mars in some aspects. Mars, suffered at Earth hands for so long before they declared their independence. So,
yeah, it's just sad that it's how things are probably going to go in our real world if we start colonizing Mars.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's just. I mean, I think the Expanse is a fairly accurate. I mean, other than like the magic and aliens stuff like that, I think it's probably going to be a fairly accurate look at like how our future is probably going to be with settling Mars and whatnot.
Yeah, there was actually, I was watching with my kids. There's a Mars series. It's sort of a documentary slash. I don't know how to put it. It's like a movie or series where it's like 3 seasons of like when we first go to Mars and then when we start colonizing it and how they do it. But they also they take breaks in the middle of it and they explain the science or how things would actually work on Mars compared to Earth and stuff like that. It's very interesting. But we get this in this story. What's interesting is first it's just scientists and they're trying to obviously get information and data. But then they get to a point where we start getting corporations moving there to trying to mine and try to get different stuff off of Mars, and it becomes a problem because they have totally different goals.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's an interesting. I won't say that Mars. If you watch Mars on Netflix, this series, that it'll be the greatest thing ever watched, but it's informative and it uses a lot of imagination of how things would be in the next, I would say 50 some years if we do get to Mars and if we do start trying to colonize it. So It has a lot of cool ideas. It's worth watching. It's like I said, it's not fabulous TV, but
Get your
it's
ass to Mars.
but get your ass to Mars. But but it's something you can like learn some ideas from and some different thinking on the whole thing. So,
Yeah, I thought it was funny in this episode where Holden like they decide to tell the crew that Naomi and him are sleeping together.
Yeah.
And then like apparently they made a bet with each other, and about when it first started because they already knew.
Yeah, and then
Amos wins the bet.
Amos is gonna punch Alex, and then he just gives him a wet willy instead.
Oh man, Amos is like becoming so much of a better character in the book too. I loved him beginning, but I mean he's just becoming more and more likable, and like he's like becoming like family with the crew a little bit, and he's like just kind of messing with Alex, and he's got his back, and Alex resents him for it because they go to the bar and Alex gets active. Amos stands up for him, and Alex gets so mad about it later.
Yeah, Alex didn't like the idea that Amos kicked that one Belter's ass because he was fucking with one of the ladies that he was flirting with.
Yeah,
and it's funny, and I'm kind of curious because I don't know really where the relationship goes from there, but I got a feeling that Amos is going to back off next time when Alex needs some help.
Yeah, and then he like fixes the Martian flag for him since the moon got blown up, and Alex gets super pissed.
Yeah, he doesn't like that at all. Yeah, it's interesting and that there's a little rift between them too.
Yeah, but I mean, Amos is just trying to do good or as good as he sees it toward Alex, and Alex just doesn't see it that way.
Yeah.
And then, Amos is like, fine, you want to punch me here? Take a hit. And Alex is like, are you trying to apologize? And he's like, you don't even know I'm mad, do you? And Amos knows exactly why he's mad. So Amos is not a dummy.
No, he knows why he's mad, but he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he's just, yeah.
He likes Alex, but he just doesn't give a fuck why he's mad.
Yeah.
He's like, he's like, to him, it's like, who cares? That's, I took care of what I need to take care of for you to protect you.
Yeah, and he's like there's people who need to be taken care of, some people who need to be protected, and some people who do the protecting. Like he's like there's three kinds of people in the world, and it's just how Amos sees it. Amos sees things very basic, bare bones as possible, and it's interesting how he sees everything. I believe it's basic, but it's also deep because he just gets to the root of things. No BSing around it, and Alex doesn't like that. And I don't know. I like Alex a lot, but I was kind of resentful for how mean Alex was to Amos because Amos was doing his best.
Yeah, I don't know. I sort of see what Alex is trying to say. I'm not saying that he should have been that angry over it, but I could see how he felt kind of maybe like. He felt kind of stupid because here Amos comes in and kicks this guy's ass. And he's like, well, I didn't even, like you just took this guy out as fast as possible. And I didn't even get a chance. I could have taken that guy. Like, well, maybe he couldn't have. We don't know,
Probably not. I mean, Alex is probably at least double Amos's age. So he's old. So, I mean, he's not an old guy, but he's also not like, Amos is just like probably in his 20s old.
Sure.
And, Alex is probably 40s, maybe pushing 50.
Right.
Right. I mean, and also Martian. I mean, right. I don't care if he hasn't kept up with his 1G training. No way he's going to take on Amos or he might be more stronger than a random belter on a space station, but who knows? But Alex doesn't seem like a fighter.
Yeah, no, and he doesn't. No, that's for sure. But yeah, so it was interesting. I like I said, I don't know if I agreed with why Alex was that pissed, but I sort of see it. But the thing is with Amos is that while there's things I like about him, he's still just a complete psychopath. He stomps that guy, that belter that was messing with Alex and the girl that he was with. So I mean, and Alex has to stop him, from probably just completely demolishing this guy.
Yeah, I mean, Amos definitely has issues.
Yeah, big time.
But for a guy with that many issues, and like, yeah, a couple episodes ago, we said how, Neil Meese's Jiminy Cricket. I mean, he needs his external conscious to work for him.
Right.
But
Right.
I think he's still kind of a good guy at heart. He just had a really bad childhood, from the sounds of it. It sounds like Baltimore is a bad place, even in the future, or especially in the future.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Well, good old Baltimore. I don't know. So, yeah, these are two fantastic episodes. Again, the show has not disappointed me whatsoever. I have not come across an episode I do not like.
Oh yeah, it's been stellar through and through. But did you notice a shift? I mean, the episode was called Paradigm Shift, but I mean, like, did this episode feel different than the last couple episodes? Because to me, like, even when I wasn't sure how the books were situated, and when I was watching them for the first time, I definitely was like, this one feels different than the other ones.
Well, obviously, after Home, where the Eros crashes into Venus in the end, that's kind of like you knew that was the end of that chapter.
Yeah,
and we're going to start a new part of the story here. So, obviously called Paradigm Shift. There's a lot of reasons. Obviously, Christian kind of like threatens Jules Pierre Mao to get his ass in and start explaining what the fuck happened. Fred Johnson steals the nukes, so he has power now, and the OPA has power. Naomi kind of
lies about the
molecule and helps with the nuke and hacking into the nukes. So, I mean, there's a little bit of that. Obviously, Alex and Amos have a little riff going on.
So much setup in this episode, and then there's the battle on Mars.
Yeah,
I mean, not on Mars, over Ganymede.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it was obviously they were setting everything up for the next little bit here. So
that was a spectacular space battle. Like, I don't know how they got such good funding for The Expanse on Sci-Fi Channel, because Sci-Fi has done some pretty shoddy stuff. And
I know, yeah.
The show just looks so good. I just cannot believe this thing aired on Sci-Fi Channel, because that battle and the space mirror breaking up. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Absolutely.
That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I was a little confused about the fight at first, so I was like.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was super unclear. I think they wanted to be that way. They were just trying to, like, that battle breaks out and you don't know what's happening, and they kind of break it down as the season progresses. You
think it's the UN forces that are doing all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you have you progressed any further, or are you current?
Only a little bit into the next episode, not too much farther. So.
Gotcha.
So, and that's kind of where I started to trail off, and then I got busy. I watched a whole bunch of episodes, and then I got busy, and I couldn't watch anymore. So, I'll probably binge some more in the next week or so. Obviously, watch these next two all the way through. But
sure. Man, yeah, like you said, The Expanse has not let me down at all. It's been solid. Like, the biggest paradigm shift, I think, is season 4. But I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think it's setting up for a lot of interesting stuff coming forward in season 5. I still haven't seen a date on season 5 yet, so I don't know if that's been delayed or if they're still planning on December, since I think season 4 aired in December, if I remember right.
Interesting.
So I hope it's on schedule, but I understand if they push it back, because they might want to get 6 filmed or whatever get started on before they air it.
Right.
Which is probably what's going on with Discovery, since Discovery keeps getting pushed back, even though they said they'd finished filming that thing like last year.
Well, I'm sure there's still a lot of post-production to get done, so.
Yeah.
But
for sure. But I'm loving The Expanse. I'm loving all the people on YouTube.
We have been getting some more like people talking about everything on YouTube, huh?
Yeah, we've got one guy who's been, or gal, I don't know what it is, but Wester S with lots of S's in it. He or she's been
Westeros. Okay.
WESTERSSSSS.
I don't know what that is.
Westeros. Yeah, like, they've been commenting on every single Expanse episode. So thank you so much for always commenting on our Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook. On our YouTube episodes of The Expanse. It's really awesome getting that feedback and whatnot. So a lot of the things I've been mentioning from our Facebook, from our YouTube commenter, a lot of things I've been mentioning from our YouTube is coming from him because I think he's read the books. And so he's been kind of like answering some of our questions for us, like in the responses to us. So I really appreciate the comments on there. Right. So thank you.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. It's nice to hear some people what they're thinking about, what our take is. Cause like Dave's ahead of me, but I'm trying to catch up with everything, and it's exciting for me, but also I'm in the dark for a lot of things. So. Mm-hmm. So obviously more will be revealed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff to come.
Yeah. Until then, Dave. So next week we'll be back into Expanse again, and obviously, if you haven't seen, we're also doing our Dune series on the book, so you can catch up with that. We just talked about Dr. Kynes. So
Dr. Christopher Walken Kynes.
Yeah, so we're having fun with that. So if you want to learn about Dune, and even if you don't read it, you can just like listen along with us, and you kind of have an idea what's going on with the book. So we give kind of a play-by-play on. This time we only did one chapter, but we normally do 2 chapters. So
it was a long chapter. It was over an hour long. Listening to it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I mean, not the recording, but just I listened to the audiobook, and it was a longer chapter.
Yeah, if it was a long chapter and there's a lot of information to digest, maybe we'll just break it into that. But so hopefully you can tune in for that. And if you have any thoughts or comments, obviously let us know, and as well with The Expanse. Or how about Lower Decks? How do you feel about Lower Decks and that coming out? Have you seen the trailer? What are your feelings? You can obviously email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. You can also hit us up at our Facebook group, Facebook/groups/Synthaholics. As Dave said, we also have the YouTube channel. You can just leave comments there below, and we'll respond to you back as well. And you can also tweet at us at Synthaholics Duo. You can hit us up there, and you can respond. You can private message us or just tweet directly at us. We don't mind. It's all fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, if the show is something you feel like you'd like to support, we greatly appreciate any monetary donations to the show. It helps us to keep our equipment and everything running. So that is at Patreon/Synthaholics, and donations are wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for our donors. And if you do, as I always say, if you know somebody who's into The Expanse or maybe into Dune or just like into sci-fi and our silly banter on stuff, let them know about the podcast. The word of mouth is a wonderful way to just let people know. So great, man. Well, Dave, until next week, we'll get into more Expanse, and maybe we'll get more Star Trek news as things move ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let the big proto-molecule thing get you. Woo!
All right, guys. Well, until next week, live long and prosper, one and all. Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink, and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.